Hi everyone, this is Brian Neal with Tradetobefree.com, and I want to go over some of the trades that we're in right now and managing and trades that we took today. And once again, we saw Applied Optics make new highs. I thought this would come back to the 9 EMA and the 20 EMA, but it came close to the 9. On Friday, it came within about $1, I think, of the 9, and it sprung off that. And today it got off to a real strong start in the morning. I thought it would fill this gap and go lower and come back and touch that 9 or 20 EMA even before surging again. But the stock actually cleared the pre-market highs here and then took off and actually went above the prior high. Went up 1 or 2%. Got in on a trade, a little day trade here as was breaking the 95.50 area. It started to come back though, so I took it off close to its entry point, but I still do have the swing trade on, and I've got some shares left in that. And again, I'm going to be waiting to raise the stop loss below the prior day's low. So as this continues to trend higher, if it turns over and takes out a prior day's low, I'll go ahead and cut it there, just in case it goes up to 110 or 115. But on earnings, this may set up a very good earnings eruptions trade. So if they beat earnings or have some really good news with the earnings announcement, it may gap a lot higher and then break those pre-market highs and make a big move from there. So I think that's how I want to play it at this point. I think the stock's got a long way at this point, and it needs to consolidate and form a new bullish pattern, like a bull flag pattern, before jumping in another trade. We saw some really good action from our swing trades today on Momo, which was featured with Applied Optics. This stock was in a very good rounding bottom pattern and double bottom pattern here. This is within a very strong long-term uptrend, and you can see this going back a few years that the price has really made a lot of higher highs and higher lows over time, and that's a good sign. And over the past 3 months, we can see that this is, or had formed, a rounding bottom here, and still in the rounding bottom actually, but it's formed this rounding bottom here, and the same one we talk about in the course within that long-term uptrend, and it made that higher low and then higher high on the right side of the base, and that was the entry point. So we got in around 40 or so a week or so ago, a couple weeks ago, and then it went up and hit this 44.59 resistance right here and started to pull back, and we got out with some of our shares there. But I still think Momo can actually break out of this pattern completely and go above the highs into earnings, because it does tend to beat earnings by a wide margin. Another stock that we had in a rounding bottom was BOFI, and if you go back 6 months, you can see this rounding bottom pattern. I'll bring up a 2-year chart here. You can see this uptrend forming over the past year or so. And if you go to a 3-month chart, you can see this rounding pattern forming here, where you've got the higher lows, and here you've got the higher high, and that's the entry point right there, right around 23.64, 65, that area. So we had to wait on this one. It made an initial move right here. It gapped higher above 25, but then it pulled back, and we waited a little while on this, but it actually made a surge higher today again, and we got out near the 200-day moving average. The 200-day moving average is right around 25.26, I believe, on this. So we got with ones that get off to a slow start like that, that take a few weeks for it to make that next move higher, we generally get out at a resistance point. In this case, it was a 200-day moving average. I think we made like 5% on that. So, and then another one that's breaking out right now again is Vive. Vive was in the newsletter recently, about 2-3 weeks ago, I think it was. It was in the symmetrical triangle pattern, and it then broke out, and the entry point was right around in here at about 63.30, 63.40, and it went sideways for a while. And then today it made a really strong move later in the morning, and I think it's up 4 or 5% today. And this could go a long way too, because this uptrend goes back years, and it's a fairly recent IPO, I think. Let me see. Well, fairly recent meaning in the past, few years. Back in late 2013, it looks like it was an IPO. So just today it's finally breaking out into these new highs, or breaking above these resistance levels here and going up further. And that could make a nice move too. That stock is one of the top growth stocks, one of the top young growth stocks in the market, and it's got very strong, consistent earnings and sales growth, and I think a higher return on equity and other factors too. So that may go quite a bit in the days ahead, the way it's breaking out today. So in Omer, we talked about before, and again, that bullish inverted J pattern, we talked about getting in above 2075, around 21, and we got in with another trade, or Thursday, on this one, and it went above 2190. This resistance right here, actually 2180. I think this one might be 2190, 2185. So right in this area here was breaking out, and so we jumped in with a small position, and we don't really like the fundamentals as much on this one. It's got a very strong long-term uptrend, and the technicals look really good. Without the fundamentals behind it, we tend to take smaller positions, but it's a very good technical pattern, with this higher low over here. Although I'd like to see it, pull back a little bit more on this pullback to form the higher low. But once it made the higher high on the right side of this base, that formed the pattern. That was the entry point, and since Thursday, I think it's up 3 or 4%. So that worked out real nice too. So we're still waiting on court. Court's still in a consolidation right now over the past few days, and it's finding support at the bottom of the consolidation. So it may be breaking out in the days ahead here too. So keep your eye on that. Yeah, that's about it, guys. The 3 stocks to wealth is off to a good start again this week. I think it's up 2% already today. So we're up a few $1,000s already, and that approach only takes 15 minutes per week. We have 2 sites, Tradetobefree.com and InvestBeFree.com, and Tradetobefree.com is all about using technical analysis to identify not only the entry points but also the exit points on top growth stocks and companies beating estimates with rising future expectations. And InvestBeFree.com is about holding just the top 3 stocks in the market. So if you're not so into technical analysis, that's a great strategy to use to just ride the top 3 stocks higher in the market, and it's having another great year. So you want to check that out. If you haven't yet, there's a free video course on that site. VEEV is still going above that entry point, so it looks like it's ready to move here. And later this week, we're going to have some really big earnings beats. I looked at the Zacks calendar, and I think this week we have several hundred earnings releases, so I think 500 or more in the next few days. So we should have a really good earnings beat and guidance raise on a top stock here in the next few days. And if we do, and if we get that really strong pre-market pattern, we're going to play that earnings eruptions trade, and I'll keep you updated. So far, we haven't seen that this earnings season in the past few days, but the type of stocks that report early, the bank stocks and stocks like GE and stocks like United Health and companies like that, Alcoa, generally they don't really form that pattern, and they generally don't move that well if they do out of that pattern. So this week we have more stocks that are in our wheelhouse and that tend to make the bigger moves, a big beat and guidance raise. So that'll be exciting later on this week. We'll keep you updated, and I'll talk to you again real soon.